There are roads in America that exist beyond the map. Roads where the streetlights stop, where your GPS signal fades to static, where the trees lean closer with every passing mile, and the darkness behind you feels heavier than the darkness ahead. Clinton Road in West Milford, New Jersey is one of those roads. 10 miles of cracked asphalt cutting through the ancient forests of Passaic County, an hour from New York City, yet a world away from civilization. They call it the most haunted road in America. Some say it's the second most haunted road in the entire world. But what makes a stretch of pavement earn such a terrifying reputation? What happens on Clinton Road when the sun goes down? And why do those who drive it at midnight warn others never to stop on the bridge? The road itself is older than the stories, though not by much. It winds through what was once an industrial hub in the 18th and 19th centuries, where iron was mined from the earth and milled into tools of progress. The Clinton furnace still stands in ruins along the route, its stone walls crumbling into the forest floor, reclaimed by moss and shadow. Old foundations dot the landscape, remnants of a time when people actually lived here, worked here, died here. But that was long ago. Now the only residents are the trees, the fog, and whatever walks between them. The few homes that remain are dark. No porch lights, no signs of life, just empty windows that seem to watch you as you pass. What strikes visitors first is the silence. Even in daylight, Clinton Road is eerily quiet. No bird song, no wind rustling through the leaves, just a heavy, oppressive stillness that presses against your chest like an invisible weight. At night, that silence becomes suffocating, the kind of quiet that makes you hold your breath without realizing it, the kind that makes every creak of your car, every snap of a twig outside sound like a gunshot. And in that silence, your mind begins to play tricks on you. Or maybe it's not tricks at all. Maybe it's something else, something waiting in the dark, just beyond the reach of your headlights, watching, listening, waiting for you to stop. The history of fear on Clinton Road goes back further than most realize. In 1905, a local writer named J. Percy Crayon documented the legends already swirling around these woods. He wrote that it was never advisable to pass through the 5-mile woods after dark, for tradition tells us they were infested with bands of robbers and counterfeiters, to say nothing of the witches that held their nightly dances and carousels, and the ghosts that made their appearance in such frightful forms. That was over a century ago. The stories haven't stopped. They've only gotten darker. Drive Clinton Road today and you'll notice the potholes, the sharp curves, the absence of guardrails in places where the road drops off into black nothingness. Dead Man's Curve is the most notorious bend, a sharp turn that has claimed lives over the decades. Skid marks scar the pavement, flowers left by grieving families wilt in the weeds. And just beyond that curve is the bridge where the ghost boy waits, the one place on Clinton Road where you should never, ever stop at midnight. But people do. Curiosity is a powerful force, and so is the need to prove that the stories aren't real, that it's just a road, just a bridge, just water flowing underneath. But then they throw the coin, and everything changes. The legend of the Ghost Boy is Clinton Road's most famous tale, and for good reason. It's been told for decades, passed down from older siblings to younger ones, from classmates to friends, from locals to curious outsiders who think they're brave enough to test it. The story goes like this. Beneath one of the bridges on Clinton Road, there's the spirit of a young boy who drowned in the stream below. Some say he fell in while playing. Others claim he was chasing a ball that rolled into the water. Another version insists he was standing on the bridge as part of a dare, waiting for his friends to drive to Route 23 and back, and when they returned, they found him dead on the pavement, struck by a passing car. However he died, his spirit remains, and if you stand on the bridge at midnight and throw a coin into the water, he'll throw it back to you, or appear in the ripples below, or push you toward the edge, not to harm you, but to save you from the same fate that claimed him. Skeptics laugh at this story. Urban legend, they say, superstition, a tale to scare teenagers. But then they visit the bridge during the day and look down into the tea-colored water, and they see dozens of coins resting on the creek bed among the stones. Quarters, pennies, nickels, evidence that people have come here, tested the legend, and left their offerings behind. How many of those coins were thrown back? How many of those visitors saw something they couldn't explain? The stories from those who tried the ritual are consistent in their terror. One visitor described throwing a quarter off the bridge and hearing it splash. Then, less than a minute later, they heard another splash, as if the coin had been dropped again. The water rippled outward in rings, and in those ripples they saw the reflection of a child's face staring up at them from below. Another person reported standing on the bridge when a quarter suddenly struck their car window with incredible force, as if thrown by an unseen hand. They hadn't even gotten out of the car yet. The ghost boy didn't want their offering. He wanted them to leave. There's more than one bridge on Clinton Road, and nobody knows for certain which one the ghost boy haunts. Some say it's the bridge at Dead Man's Curve. Others claim it's the bridge near the old iron furnace, where a waterfall crashes through a rocky gorge, making the ghost boy's journey to return thrown coins far more treacherous. But does a ghost tire? Does a spirit struggle with distance? Or does he simply appear wherever fear summons him? Visitors have reported seeing a small figure standing at the edge of the bridge in their rearview mirror, only to vanish when they turn around. Others have felt a cold hand on their shoulder while standing alone on the bridge at night, pushing them gently away from the edge, as if protecting them from falling. And some have heard laughter, childish, echoing laughter that seems to come from the water itself, rising up through the mist like a warning. Don't stop, don't look, don't throw the coin, because once you do, you've invited something into your world, and it may not let you leave. But the ghost boy is only the beginning. Clinton Road has layers of terror, each one darker than the last. If the bridge is where innocence lingers in death, then the woods beyond are where something far more sinister dwells. Cross Castle, also known as Clinton Castle, was built in 1905 by a wealthy businessman named Richard J. Cross. He named it Bearfort after the mountain range it overlooked, and for a time it stood as a testament to wealth and ambition, a 3-story stone mansion rising from the forest like something out of a Gothic novel. But Cross died in 1917, and the property was sold to the city of Newark in 1919. A fire eventually consumed much of the wooden structure, leaving only the stone walls standing. For decades, those ruins became a gathering place for thrill seekers, vandals, and something far worse. By the late 70s and 80s, Cross Castle had earned a reputation as a site of occult activity. Visitors claimed to see graffiti covering the walls, not just the typical spray-painted tags, but entire passages written in red paint. One visitor in 1977 copied down what he saw on those walls into a journal. Years later, he discovered that the text matched writings from Anton LaVey's Lex Satanicus, the scripture of the Church of Satan. He realized with horror that the people gathering at Cross Castle weren't just trespassing teenagers. They were members of a local satanic grotto using the ruins for rituals. The proof was written on the walls. And when a demolition crew finally tore down the remaining structure in 1988, they found something that baffled them. In the basement, hidden beneath the rubble, were more walls covered in satanic scripture. But there was no entrance to this section of the castle, no doorway, no staircase leading down. How did the writings get there? Who put them there? And what were they summoning in the dark? Stories from those who visited Cross Castle before its demolition are harrowing. Groups reported hearing chanting and the rattling of chains echoing from the woods around the ruins. One woman, standing on the stones of the castle, suddenly went into a seizure-like state and became immovable, as if nailed to the rock by an invisible force. When the chanting stopped, she came to, gasping, with no memory of what had happened. Another visitor claimed to have seen two white figures moving through the trees near the castle, albino-like beings that disappeared when approached. Others spoke of bonfires in the woods, robed figures gathered in circles, and the unmistakable presence of the Ku Klux Klan holding meetings in the shadows of the ruins. One group of teenagers witnessed a woman in Klan regalia leading a ceremony, and when they were spotted, they were chased back to their car by robed figures wielding shotguns. They barely escaped. Even now, with the castle long demolished, the area still carries a weight. Hikers avoid it, locals warn against going near it after dark, because some places hold on to the evil that happened there, absorbing it into the soil, the trees, the very air itself. And Cross Castle was a place of darkness for decades. The spirits summoned there, the rituals performed, the violence and fear, they don't just disappear when the walls come down. They linger, they wait. And if you wander too far off Clinton Road into those woods, you might find that the castle is still there in some way, rebuilt every October 30th according to legend, waiting for the next sacrifice. If Cross Castle represents the human darkness that once thrived on Clinton Road, then the phantom vehicles represent death's refusal to stay buried. Clinton Road is not just haunted by ghosts on foot or spirits in the water. It's haunted by machines, metal, and motion. There are vehicles on this road that shouldn't exist. Cars that appear in your rearview mirror and vanish when you blink. Headlights that follow you for miles, matching your speed, never getting closer, never falling behind. And most terrifying of all, the black pickup truck. The phantom truck of Clinton Road has been reported for generations, long before the internet turned it into legend. Late-night drivers describe it the same way every time. An old, battered black truck with no license plate, appearing suddenly behind them on the darkest stretches of the road. It doesn't honk, it doesn't flash its lights, it just follows. Close, too close. And if you speed up, it speeds up. If you slow down, it slows down. If you pull over, it stops just behind you, engine idling, headlights glaring through your back window like the eyes of a predator. One driver reported seeing the truck in their mirror and feeling an overwhelming sense of dread, a primal instinct screaming at them to get off the road. They accelerated to 60 miles per hour on the winding, pothole-riddled asphalt, a speed that should have been suicide on Clinton Road's sharp curves. The truck kept pace effortlessly. At one point, the driver glanced in the mirror and saw what looked like blood smeared across the truck's hood, dripping down the front grille. They didn't stop to investigate. They didn't stop at all until they reached Route 23, where the truck finally vanished, dissolving into the darkness as if it had never been there. But the memory stayed, the fear stayed, and they never drove Clinton Road again. Others claim the truck is driven by the ghost of a man who died in a crash on the road, endlessly patrolling the route, searching for something he lost. Or maybe he's searching for someone to join him. Some versions of the story say that if you make eye contact with the driver, you'll see a faceless figure behind the wheel, or worse, you'll see your own face staring back at you, a glimpse of your death to come. One local cop, when asked why he was patrolling Clinton Road alone at night, replied, "I'm only out here because I have a gun." Even law enforcement knows that this road is different, that the rules of reality bend here, that something is watching from the woods, and sometimes it drives. But the black truck isn't the only phantom vehicle. There's also the blue Chevy Camaro, a car tied to a specific tragedy. The story goes that a young woman was racing down Clinton Road toward Route 23 in her 1988 Camaro. She took Dead Man's Curve too fast and slammed into the cement divider, dying instantly on impact. Now, if you tell someone the story of her death while driving Clinton Road, the blue Camaro will appear. Witnesses describe seeing it pass them, the engine roaring, the taillights glowing red in the mist. But when they try to follow it, it's gone. No tire marks, no sound, just the lingering smell of burning rubber and the cold certainty that they just saw a ghost. There are other sightings too. Headlights that appear suddenly in the middle of the road, blinding and bright, only to vanish a second later. Cars parked on the shoulder with no one inside, doors open, engines still running. And perhaps most disturbing, the reports of vehicles that seem to exist in two places at once, driving toward you and behind you simultaneously, trapping you in a loop of impossible motion. Some drivers have described feeling like they're stuck in a time loop on Clinton Road, passing the same landmarks over and over, unable to find the exit, as if the road itself is alive and doesn't want to let them go. And then there are the creatures, the things that shouldn't exist but do, at least on Clinton Road. New Jersey is home to one of America's most famous cryptids, the Jersey Devil. For over 250 years, this winged, horse-headed demon has terrorized the pine barrens of southern New Jersey. But sightings have been reported much farther north, including the woods around Clinton Road. Witnesses describe hearing unearthly screams echoing through the trees at night, high-pitched wails that sound almost human, but not quite. Others have seen winged shadows passing overhead, blotting out the stars for a brief moment before disappearing into the canopy. The Jersey Devil is said to be the 13th child of Mother Leeds, a woman rumored to be a sorceress who cursed her own offspring. The child was born human, but quickly transformed into a creature with bat-like wings, a horse's head, cloven hooves, and a long serpentine tail. It fled into the woods and has been haunting New Jersey ever since. In 1939, it was even named the official state demon by Governor Walter Edge. Sightings have been reported by prominent citizens, including Commodore Stephen Decatur, who claimed he fired a cannonball at the creature to no effect, and Joseph Bonaparte, Napoleon's brother, who saw it while hunting. But the Jersey Devil isn't the only strange creature on Clinton Road. Locals have reported seeing a hellhound, a massive dog-like beast with glowing red eyes that chases cars down the road, keeping pace with speeds of 60 miles per hour or more. Unlike normal dogs, this creature doesn't tire, it doesn't pant, it doesn't bark. It just runs, silent and relentless, until it either vanishes or forces the driver off the road. One group of teenagers reported being chased by an animal that seemed to float above the ground, its body flickering in and out of visibility like a bad television signal. They described it as having the shape of a dog, but with features that didn't quite fit, limbs that bent at wrong angles, eyes that reflected light in colors that shouldn't exist. When they finally escaped back onto Route 23, the creature was gone, but the feeling of being hunted stayed with them for weeks. There have also been sightings of what witnesses describe as a grayish-white wolf with red and yellow eyes lurking in the bushes along the roadside. Multiple people have reported seeing this exact creature down to the unnatural color of its eyes. Some believe it's a mutated animal, a descendant of creatures that escaped from a nearby wildlife park called Jungle Habitat, which closed in the 1970s. Others think it's something far older, a guardian spirit of the forest or a demon summoned by the rituals once performed at Cross Castle. And then there's the truly bizarre, a sighting of a monkey. Yes, a monkey spotted by two sisters driving Clinton Road late one night. Monkeys are not native to New Jersey. There's no explanation for what it was doing there. But on Clinton Road, the impossible becomes routine. The woods themselves seem alive on Clinton Road. Hikers and drivers alike report feeling watched, even in broad daylight. The sensation of unseen eyes tracking your every movement, following you from tree to tree. Some have described hearing footsteps in the woods, pacing alongside their car as they drive. Others have heard whispers, voices speaking in languages they can't understand, or worse, voices that speak their name. One hiker reported finding a clearing deep in the forest where the ground was scorched black in a perfect circle, the trees around it withered and dead despite being surrounded by healthy forest. Another found a pile of animal bones arranged in a deliberate pattern, a symbol they didn't recognize but instinctively knew was wrong, a mark of something that should not be disturbed. And then there are the lights, strange, unexplained lights that appear in the sky above Clinton Road. Dozens of witnesses have reported seeing blue, red, and white orbs moving through the trees, keeping pace with their vehicles. Some describe the lights as hovering, pulsing with an unnatural glow. Others claim they've seen triangular crafts, massive and silent, hanging low in the air before vanishing in an instant. Are they UFOs, spirits, something else entirely? No one knows, but the lights are real. Too many people have seen them for it to be mass hysteria. And whatever they are, they're drawn to Clinton Road, as if the darkness here attracts them, as if the barrier between worlds is thinner here than anywhere else. One driver describes stopping in the middle of the road when they saw hundreds of lights surrounding them on both sides, glowing in the trees, pulsing in rhythm. They were too frightened to get out of the car. As they accelerated to 75 miles per hour, the lights kept pace, flanking them like a silent escort. And then, all at once, they vanished, leaving the driver alone in the dark once more, heart pounding, hands shaking, questioning what they had just witnessed. Clinton Road has a way of making you question everything, your senses, your sanity, your understanding of what's possible. But if the ghosts, the creatures, and the phantom vehicles aren't enough to convince you that Clinton Road is cursed, then consider the bodies. The real, documented bodies found in the woods over the decades. This is not legend. This is not folklore. This is fact. In 1983, the body of a 30-year-old man was discovered wrapped in a green garbage bag along the roadside. He had been murdered, his corpse dumped in the woods like trash. The case was eventually linked to organized crime, a mob hit carried out and hidden in the isolation of Clinton Road. But he wasn't the first, and he wasn't the last. Over the years, more bodies have been found in the dense forests surrounding the road, some dismembered, some burned, some so decomposed that identification was nearly impossible. Clinton Road has become a dumping ground for killers, a place where the living dispose of the dead, knowing that the darkness and isolation will keep their secrets buried. But the dead don't always stay buried. They linger, they haunt, they become part of the road's legacy of terror. One hiker reported coming across a large bag in the woods, partially hidden beneath leaves. Curious, they approached and opened it, only to find a severed human head staring back at them. They fled in horror, flagging down a passing car and calling the police. The investigation revealed a mob connection, a murder, a body disposed of in pieces across the forest. But how many other bodies are still out there, undiscovered, rotting in the underbrush, their spirits trapped in the woods, unable to move on? Some believe that the ghosts on Clinton Road aren't just from accidents or drownings. They're the victims of violence, of murder, of evil acts committed in the dark. And their rage, their pain, their desire for justice or revenge fuels the haunting. There's also the body bag story, one of the most chilling first-hand accounts from Clinton Road. A driver and his friend were heading home late one night when they came upon a sharp curve in the middle of the road. There, lying across the pavement, was a black body bag, zipped shut with what appeared to be blood seeping through the fabric. The driver slammed on the brakes, staring in disbelief. His friends screamed. They put the car in reverse and sped back the way they came, calling the police as soon as they reached a safe area. When officers arrived at the scene, they found nothing. No body bag, no blood, no evidence that anything had been there at all. The driver insisted they had seen it, that it was real, that the blood was still wet, but Clinton Road had swallowed the evidence. Or perhaps it had never been real in the first place. Perhaps it was a vision, a warning, a glimpse into the road's violent past. Or maybe it was a test to see who would stop and who would run. Another disturbing phenomenon on Clinton Road is the sensation of physical harm with no visible cause. Multiple visitors have reported leaving the area with unexplained bruises, scratches, and marks on their bodies. One woman visited Cross Castle before it was demolished and stood on the stone ruins. She felt fine at the time, but when she returned to her car, her friends noticed a dark bruise forming around her neck, as if invisible hands had choked her. She hadn't felt anything, she hadn't been touched, but the mark was there, undeniable proof that something had reached out from the darkness and left its signature on her skin. Others have reported feeling sudden, intense nausea while driving Clinton Road, a sickness so overwhelming that they had to pull over and vomit. The feeling passes as soon as they leave the area, as if the road itself is poisoning them, rejecting their presence. And then there are the encounters with the living, which are sometimes just as terrifying as the encounters with the dead. Clinton Road has a reputation as a gathering place for those who worship darkness, satanic cults, the Ku Klux Klan, groups of robed figures conducting rituals in the woods. While many of these stories fall into the realm of urban legend, there are documented cases of real people engaging in real occult activity in the area. One visitor stumbled upon a bonfire deep in the woods, surrounded by figures in robes. As they got closer, they realized the leader was dressed in full Klan regalia. The group spotted them and gave chase, some wielding shotguns, shouting for them to stop. The visitors barely made it back to their car and escaped. Another group heard chanting echoing through the trees near Cross Castle, the sound of chains rattling, and witnessed one of their friends collapse into a seizure-like state, unable to be moved until the chanting stopped. There are also reports of a woman found walking along Route 23 near Clinton Road, covered in third-degree burns, high on heroin, screaming that she was a witch and that her coven had thrown her into a bonfire. She was taken to a hospital, restrained after becoming violent, and kept repeating that her powers were too strong, that she could crawl inside people's minds. Whether her story was true or a drug-induced delusion, the fact remains that she was found near Clinton Road, burned and terrified, claiming to have been part of a ritual. The line between legend and reality blurs on Clinton Road. The stories become facts. The facts become nightmares. One of the strangest accounts involves two park rangers who appeared to a group of campers near Terrace Pond, a remote lake accessible via trails off Clinton Road. The campers had set up a fire and were drinking when two young rangers approached, concerned about the fire and the drinking. The rangers assured them their vehicles wouldn't be ticketed and that they were fine to camp there. In the morning, the campers returned to their cars to find parking tickets on each windshield. When they questioned the West Milford Police and Newark Watershed authorities, they were told there were no park rangers on patrol in that area. The campers described the rangers' appearance and uniforms in detail. One of the authorities went pale and asked them to repeat the description. Then he told them the truth. The two men they had spoken to were park rangers, but they had been killed on patrol in 1939. The campers had spent the night talking to ghosts, and those ghosts had tried to protect them, warning them about the fire, checking on their safety, fulfilling their duties even in death. But they had also left a warning in the form of those tickets, a message that said, "You shouldn't be here. Leave." Clinton Road is not just haunted by individual spirits or isolated incidents. The entire road is a wound in the landscape, a place where the veil between worlds has worn thin. It's a 10-mile stretch of concentrated darkness, where every legend has a grain of truth, where every shadow might hide something real. And the deeper you go, the worse it gets. So why does Clinton Road remain so infamous? Why do people keep returning despite the warnings, despite the fear, despite the very real danger of encountering something they can't explain? Perhaps it's because we're drawn to darkness. Perhaps it's because we need to test the boundaries of reality to see if the stories are true, to prove to ourselves that we're brave enough to face the unknown. Or perhaps it's because Clinton Road calls to us the way haunted places always do, a siren song of dread, a challenge, a dare. Come and see, it whispers. Come and see if you're afraid. Come and see if I'll let you leave. But not everyone does leave. There are stories, unverified but persistent, of people who went to Clinton Road and never came back. Missing persons reports, cars found abandoned on the shoulder, doors open, keys still in the ignition, no sign of the driver. Did they wander into the woods and get lost? Did they encounter something that dragged them into the darkness? Or did they simply disappear, swallowed by the road itself, becoming another ghost in its ever-growing collection? No one knows. But the fact that these stories exist, that people vanish in the area, that searches turn up nothing, it adds another layer of terror to an already horrifying place. One of the most chilling warnings about Clinton Road is simple. Never get out of your car, especially at night. Drive through if you must, but do not stop, do not investigate, do not walk into the woods, because the moment you step out of your vehicle, you become vulnerable. The metal and glass of your car offer a psychological barrier, a sense of safety. But once you're standing on the pavement, once you're walking toward the bridge or the ruins or the woods, you're in their territory, the spirits, the creatures, the things that live in the shadows, and they don't have to play by the rules of the living. They can move faster than you. They can appear behind you without making a sound. They can reach out and touch you, leaving marks, leaving bruises, leaving fear that will never fully fade. One visitor describes standing on the bridge at midnight, alone, throwing a coin into the water as the legend instructed. They waited in silence, listening to the stream below, the wind in the trees. And then they heard it. A child's laughter echoing up from the water, distant but clear. Their blood went cold. They turned to run back to their car, but as they did, they felt a small, cold hand brush against their arm, as if a child was reaching out to them, trying to hold them back. They didn't look. They didn't stop. They ran, heart pounding, and drove away as fast as the winding road would allow. But the feeling of that cold hand stayed with them for years. The memory of that laughter, innocent and terrible all at once. The knowledge that something had been there, something real, something that wanted to be seen, or wanted to take them. Others have reported seeing the ghost boy himself, not as a reflection or a shadow, but as a solid figure standing on the bridge. A small child, dripping wet, staring at them with dark, hollow eyes. He doesn't speak, he doesn't move, he just watches. And then, when the witness blinks or turns away for a moment, he's gone. But the coin they threw is back on the bridge, resting on the pavement as if returned by invisible hands. One person reported picking up the coin and feeling it ice cold to the touch, colder than any metal should be, as if it had been pulled from the depths of winter itself. They dropped it and drove away, but the cold lingered in their fingers for hours, a frostbite that shouldn't exist.
The ghost boy isn't malicious, according to most accounts. He's tragic, a spirit trapped in a loop, reliving his death, reaching out to the living in the only way he knows how. But not all the spirits on Clinton Road are so benign. Some are angry, some are violent, some want revenge. Cross Castle may be demolished, but the energy it attracted, the rituals performed there, the evil summoned into the world, that energy still lingers. Sensitive visitors report feeling overwhelming dread when they pass the area where the castle once stood. Some have reported hearing chanting late at night, the same rhythmic, guttural sounds that witnesses described decades ago. Others have seen figures in robes moving through the trees, carrying torches, forming circles in the dark. Are they ghosts, replaying past rituals? Or are they real people, still using the area for occult purposes, drawn to the power that Clinton Road seems to hold? One thing is certain. Clinton Road is not just a road. It's a place where the boundaries of reality break down, where the past refuses to stay buried, where the dead walk alongside the living, where machines from another time drive through the night, carrying spirits that can't let go, where creatures that shouldn't exist hunt in the shadows, where the very air feels heavy with fear, with sorrow, with rage, and where, if you're not careful, you might become part of the legend, your name added to the list of those who saw something they couldn't explain, or worse, those who never made it home. There's a reason locals avoid Clinton Road after dark. There's a reason the police officer said he only patrols it because he has a gun. There's a reason the stories keep coming, generation after generation, consistent in their details, consistent in their terror. Because Clinton Road is real. The ghosts are real. The danger is real. And no matter how brave you think you are, no matter how skeptical you claim to be, when you're alone on that dark, winding road, surrounded by miles of forest with nothing but your headlights to guide you, you will feel it. The presence, the eyes watching from the woods, the weight of centuries of death and darkness pressing down on you, and you will understand why people say you should never stop on the bridge at midnight. Because once you stop, once you open that door, once you step out into the darkness, you're no longer just a visitor. You're a participant. You've entered into a contract with the road, with the spirits, with the curse that has claimed Clinton Road for over a century. And the road doesn't let go easily. It will follow you home in your rearview mirror. It will appear in your nightmares. It will leave marks on your body and scars on your mind. It will make you question what you saw, what you felt, what you survived. And no matter how far you drive, no matter how many years pass, a part of you will always be there, standing on that bridge, staring down into the water, waiting for the ghost boy to return your coin, waiting for the laughter, waiting for the cold hand on your shoulder, waiting for the darkness to take you. Clinton Road is not just the most haunted road in America. It's a living legend, a monument to fear, a 10-mile stretch of asphalt that has absorbed decades of tragedy, violence, and the supernatural. It's a place where the impossible happens every night, where the dead refuse to rest, where the living are not safe, and where, if you're foolish enough to go, you will leave changed, haunted, marked, because Clinton Road doesn't just scare you, it becomes a part of you, forever. So the question isn't whether Clinton Road is haunted. The question is, are you brave enough to find out for yourself? And if you do, will you make it back to tell the story? Or will you become another ghost, another shadow, another voice in the darkness, warning the next visitor? Don't stop on the bridge at midnight. Whatever you do, don't stop.